Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am so glad that you guys are sticking it out with us. We're trying to finish out that series on the diorama build that we did for USTE this year, and we are finishing it with the pine trees. I'm gonna tell you right now, these are super time consuming, but they are really worth it because they look phenomenal on the course. And I've actually been taking some of the pine trees that I used here on the course and I've flipped them over to my RC course that we do have here at the house. And I'm gonna give you a sneak peek as to what that looks like. On top of that, I'm also gonna show you a real quick project that we did to the RC course. It's just gonna be a little preview. We are also really excited about some new content that we're gonna be bringing to the channel. And in order to give you a preview of that, I've got to take you guys into the garage. So let's take a look at the RC course and then let's head over to the garage and then we're going to get on these pine trees. Okay guys, we are back in the RC room. We are looking at a preview of the changes that I made to the course. Originally we started with just making some gates. And then I added an entire new section, and then I added trees from the diorama, and then I added a carport, bridge, gazebo, I don't know what you call it, but the cars can ride through it, on it, and over it. So let's take a look at this real quick. And if you guys haven't seen the course in a while, you may want to look back at some of our old videos because it's changing. And I did promise my husband that before I built a brand new course, I would max this course out. After we take a look at this, I'm gonna take you into the garage because we're gonna show you something that we've been working on and we're gonna be adding it to the channel. So let's get going. We need to take this and we need to match it to our brand new Rubicon. So my husband and I, we are mixing things up on the channel and we thought that you guys might want to see our off-roading adventures. It's been a long time coming. We've dreamed of a Rubicon and off-roading for years, and we finally had the opportunity, now that the kids are pretty much out of the house, to maybe have some adventures of our own. So one of the things we're going to be doing is adding the Rubicon to the channel. We thought maybe you guys like to see a full-size rock crawler, and we're going to show you some adventures with that. And we're going to continue with our RC adventures because I want to take this little guy and I want to make it look like its big brother. So we've got to give this rig a name. We've yet to name it. We also have already done some modifications to the Jeep, which we will show you. And we're gonna be adding a couple of new things as well as some off-road videos. So be sure to comment below and let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in. So now that I've done the preview, let's get back to making those trees for our diorama that we made. Let's go.
Here is our shopping list. You're going to need a 1/2-inch wooden dowel, coconut pot liners, clump foliage in both the fine and coarse grade. If you don't know how to make that, look back on a couple of my videos. Various acrylic paints, hot glue gun, sticks and super glue, spray adhesive, various twigs, landscape glue, and I also gave you a recipe on how to make that on my other videos, as well as a handheld drill so that we can drive small stakes on the bottom of them.
So I wasn't sure how these were going to come out because this was a first time for me. So I have already built 3 of them and now I'm going to show you how to build them. But basically these are pine trees. These are approximately 20 inches long, which would be about 40 feet tall in real life. These are really simple to make, but a little time consuming. So let's get started. We're getting ready to make a pine tree. So I've got this wood dowel that I just found around the house, and all I'm doing is I'm going to kind of carve it into a cone shape. So I'm just going to bring this to a very point right here, and then I'm just going to carve some gouges out into the base here. Now that we have our wood dowel all carved up and we've got somewhat of a tip here in the front, I may work on that a little bit. We can go ahead and start painting this. Today I'm going to be using a chocolate brown with a black wash, and then I think I'm going to mix my black and white into kind of a gray to kind of distress the outside of it. And before we do that, we're going to go ahead and drill a small hole here in the bottom so that we could drive a dowel in. That's going to make it a lot easier for placing our big pine tree onto our diorama. Cutting a 4x4" piece. Each piece, I'll show you on a sample, each piece is going to look like this, 4x4", and then you're going to separate each piece into 2 pieces, and then from here you're just going to basically just tease the entire thing so that you have a little bit more of an irregular shape. So you should end up with something that looks a little like this, and you can keep pulling it just to separate the fibers, just don't break them. So right now, this is kind of the shape that we're going for. We're gonna work on this one here, and we're gonna separate those fibers. You wanna separate it, but you don't wanna break it. And then after this, technically you're supposed to spray paint these in a dark chocolate brown, but in reality, when I look at pine trees, they kind of have like coconut colored needles. So I'm gonna work with this. I'm gonna do this step right now, and then I'm gonna play it by ear. I may decide to dry brush over it. We'll see. We'll just have to kind of figure it out. But let's put this on a time lapse so that you don't get bored watching me do this. We cut up the coconut husk that you find in flower pots. We cut them into squares, we cut the corners off of those squares, and then we kind of made little circles out of them. I started with 4 inches, 3 inches, 2 inches, followed by 1 inch. And then you just tease them out. So these are the ones that we're gonna use for this doweling. It's pretty simple. You're just gonna cut a hole right in the middle. You're gonna feed it through. A lot of people spray adhesive the doweling, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna hold them in place with a little bit of hot glue, and then basically just keep going. So there is no right or wrong to this. I'm just gonna, some of them can be a little tricky. Now you wanna leave a space in between each of them because you wanna be able to have kind of gaps like this. This is not even a piece that was cut, but I'm gonna use it anyway by just kind of gathering it up a little bit. This was scrap from another tree. I think it's still gonna work for this tree. I'm actually gonna wait. I may be cutting this one down because I'm missing a section here and then I've got a little topper. So let's time lapse the rest of this so that you guys can see this a little more quickly. It's time to spray our clump foliage onto our trees, and we're going to do that just by spreading out a little bit of the clump foliage. Now this clump foliage, keep in mind, no glue has been added to this because this is just more dense, and this was going to only be used for trees. The other clump foliage that I had made, we did put some white glue into it, but that's because we're gonna be making those into bushes. So we're gonna take our tree outside and we're gonna put some spray adhesive right on it, and then we're gonna go ahead and pop it onto this little plate and get this covered. Now that we have the coarse foam covering our trees, we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle on some of the fine foam. And I'm using the medium green. This time we've laid everything on our mat, and I think that's gonna work better. And I'm just rolling and I'm tapping as I go. Hopefully this doesn't wreck my brand new mat. Once all the tackiness is gone, your tree is finished. And there you have it. The very last detail that we're gonna add to our pine trees is some small branches at the base around this kind of area. So I went out to the backyard and I collected some small branches. They kind of sort of look like this. I cut off the tips because I wanted to use the ones that were kind of making a Y and had several little pieces to them. I am going to be trimming these down once I get them onto the tree, and I am using just my little tiny drill, my handheld drill, to put a couple of holes into the tree trunk, and then we will use some hot glue or maybe some super glue and we will hold them in place. We're all done putting our branches onto our trees, and it gives them a really nice detailed look. So that's pretty much it for the trees, and now I'm going to go ahead and kind of set them in the location that I think that they're going to work for my diorama.
Okay guys, so in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to make some shrubs using the same exact techniques that we use to make the pine trees. So here's the supplies you're going to need for this, and let's get started. I went outside and gathered up some small tiny branches in various sizes, and then I cut them to the shapes that I wanted, adding a couple of pieces of branches in sections that were missing some parts, and I simply just attached them using some super glue. I took a car sponge and acrylic paint and dyed the car sponge using the acrylic paint, and then once I did that, I cut it into some large pieces and then I baked it for about 20-30 minutes at 250 degrees in the oven, and then proceeded to chop all of that up by hand. I used spray adhesive on the branches and I just kind of put it in the plate and gathered up the pieces until I was happy with what it looked like. Once all of these small branches were done, I took the fine landscape foliage and I basically repeated the step. You want to make sure to use a lighter color than what you used previous, because these kind of act like a highlight. And then over here, I'm just using my little hand drill to put them onto the diorama in different spots that I think look great. These bushes are amazing to do, and if you dye your fine foam in colors, you could actually make floral bushes like azaleas. They end up looking pretty awesome, and they really added just another depth that I thought the diorama needed. Guys, if you haven't had an opportunity to check out the videos on the back end of this video, you definitely want to hit up the playlist. It's got tons of how-to videos on some of the other items in this diorama, and we're going to finish this series with the waterfall, which you guys are definitely going to want to see because I loved working with these products, and we're working with acrylic, so it's pretty interesting how you can do that. Again, please be sure to always like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Let me know if you like what you see. And until the next time, see you later.